Okay, I think we are at the 2 o'clock mark, and hopefully most of our participants are in. We may have a few people joining still, but I'm going to go ahead and jump in and say welcome once again to our Wednesday webinar. Today our topic is Strive Conferences, and my name is Paige Parker. I am one of the professional learning and coaching team members, and I'll be talking to you today about conferences. We also have on the call Shanna James, who's the product manager for evaluation and learning. So we have the expert and guru on the line as well. Shanna, do you want to say hi?
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Should have given you a heads up. And I'm not sure if Joel is in there with us, but if he is, he can jump in and say hello. He usually is. And we also have on the line Alicia Thomas, who is also a member of the professional learning and coaching team. Alicia, you want to say hello? She may be having audio trouble. But anyway, we've got a crew here with you today to hopefully answer any questions that you have. We are going to ask that you keep your questions to our today's topic. We have a question section that you can post your questions, and the team members will be posting responses as we can. If you have a question about something other than today's topic, we're going to ask that you email those to training@eduphoria.net. It's difficult for the team members to be answering questions on a topic other than what we're talking about today and still keep up with what's being said in the webinar. So if you have something other than the conferences questions, if you would email them to us, that would be great, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So today we're going to talk about creating a conference. Conferences can be used for virtual or face-to-face or a combination of those. So I'll show you how you can set up for either or both of those options. We'll talk about contributors and instructors and how you can use those in conferences. We'll talk about the attendee view, so you'll see what your users will see and how they'll register. And then we'll talk about what we have at this point in report options. I do want to say early on that this is our first phase of conferences. We wanted to get it out there to you and give you a product that's working as soon as we possibly could. We do have additional development plans already in the works. Now, if you have something that you would like to see in conferences, we always encourage you to email us at training@eduphoria.net and let us know what features you would like to see. We will submit those as feature requests. There's a good chance that somebody else is thinking the same way that you're thinking, but you may have an idea that we haven't even considered. So do let us know if there are things that you would like to see, but we do have some things already planned for updates, and we'll be giving you the information about that as it gets closer to being ready and as we push those things out. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. We're going to look at conferences. I'm going to go into the software and look at this point, I should say, and then we'll take questions as we come. Y'all go ahead and throw your questions out into that section, and Shanna and Alicia will unmute their mics and let me know if there's something we need to talk about specifically. So I'm logging in as an administrator, and I'm going to go into Strive. And as an administrator, you've always gone down to settings at the bottom, and you've had appraisal settings and workshop settings, but now you also have manage conferences as an option under those settings as well. So we're going to go to manage conferences, and you'll see this screen, which is what I just had up as a screenshot in the slideshow a minute ago. This is where you will create a new conference, where you will manage any ongoing or upcoming conferences that you have, and you can also go and view any past conferences. So this is sort of like your dashboard of where you will be looking at everything related to the conferences going on in your district. I'm going to start by creating one from scratch. So I'm going to click on the Create Conference button. And this is what the interface looks like when you're building the conference. So I'm going to say we're going to have an Eduphoria. That's going to be the name of my conference. And then I can set my dates. You'll notice I didn't hit anything, but in the upper right-hand corner, there's the little cloud with a check mark and it says saved. So it's doing an auto save the whole time that I'm working. You'll notice as I choose something else, that will flash really briefly and it will be saving whatever changes I've made. So once I've named it, I can come down and give it a description. All things Eduphoria. Hopefully I put more in there if this was a real conference, but I don't want to waste your time watching me type. I also can set my dates, and this conference can be a single day conference or it can be a multi-day conference. So I'm going to say that this conference for me is going to be on Friday the 19th going into Saturday the 20th. So I have a 2-day conference, and you can pick whatever date range you want there, and again, have a single day or a multi-day conference depending on your needs. Again, you'll notice I made some changes. Now it's saying saved again. That's an automatic. I also can set my locations. What rooms do I want to make available for this conference, so that whoever is setting up the sessions cannot say, well, I'm just going to put my session on my home campus because that's more convenient to me. If you want to keep it to a specific set of locations, you can define that here. This list of locations is going to pull from what you have in workshop. So whatever you have set up in your workshop settings under locations, that's what you're going to see here in this list. So I could say I'm going to keep it at Baxter Elementary. So I'm going to pick the rooms that are there from Baxter. I've got a multi-purpose room, a library, and 2 computer labs. So those are going to be rooms that I choose. And then I also am going to put Zoom meeting room in there because I'm going to mix face-to-face and online in this conference. I have that ability. So by limiting it, when my session creators set up sessions, they can only select these rooms or a Zoom meeting room for their options. They can't put their sessions in any location that I don't define here. What that might mean for you in building conferences is that you need to go back into your workshop settings, and I'm going to make sure that this one is saved, and it is. I might need to go back into my workshop settings and go to workshop setup and training locations and see if all of the rooms that I want to include in my conference are listed here. And if there's one that I want in my conference that's not there, I'm going to say Baxter Elementary Cafetorium is going to be one that I want to be able to use. I can put all of the information in there. This is going to be my big room. Maybe 300 people can get in there, and I'll save that as a location. So now I have another location there at Baxter Elementary. If I go back to manage conferences and I go back into my Eduphoria Extravaganza, I can add in another location. I have that as an option. There it is. I needed a refresh. So now I can add that room in, and it's part of my conference as well. So in building those conferences, when you go to limit your session locations, remember, if you need to add something that's not on the list, you would add it by going over to workshop settings and locations, training locations. This is what is going to pull into your offerings in conferences. I know that some of you may have it set up where you only have your buildings as training locations. If you're going to create a conference, it's probably worth your time to go in and set up those individual rooms so that you can use those in conferences. I think it's helpful in workshops too, because that location shows up on their confirmation email. So I'm going to add in learning tracks here. So if this was my All Things Eduphoria, then I would want to have a track for forethought, and I would want to have a track for strive, and I would want to have a track for aware. These are tags that you're adding to your conference, and they'll be available for creation of sessions and also for searching for your users to search for sessions. So I can add as many tracks as I want, and you'll notice I have the different applications, or I have the different frameworks, or I could have elementary, secondary. I could have whatever tracks you're wanting people to be able to search for, or you want to be able to kind of focus your sessions on, you can add those in. This is one of my favorite pieces over here, the contributors. This means that as the administrator, you don't have to build every single thing in the conference. You can have help. And so you can come over here and add a contributor. This contributor list is going to be those who have district course creator role in workshop. So if you need somebody to be able to be a contributor and they don't currently show up in this list, then I would need to go over to, I'm going to go over to manage. And in my list here, I'm going to find, I'm going to find a user that I want to be a contributor. And under roles, I would need to come into Strive and they would need to be a district course editor. And now when I go back into conferences and I look at my conference here, I should be able to find, there's my user that I just promoted. So this person now has the ability to contribute because they are a district course creator. So if you're looking for somebody in that list and they're not there, they have to have the district course editor role. And that will allow them to be a contributor to your conference. Once they're a contributor, they will see the conference under managed conferences, even though it's not published yet, and they'll be able to go in and add sessions, which is going to be the next thing that we look at. Any questions right now that I need to address?
Yeah, this is a good question just because it is kind of around where we are right now and how you could use it as a campus. The question is it only for district conferences, and could a campus set up an internal conference? So I don't know if you want to answer that, if you want, or if you want me to.
Either one. If you want to answer it, jump on in. If you want me to, let me know.
Well, so I'll say like the overall thing, like right now, there's no way to restrict who registers for a campus. So we don't have that in place. So if you wanted to do a campus specific and restrict it, that's not a part of conferences right now, but you could do a conference and just like Paige just showed you, have a contributor. Like the district level person would have to set up this part of it, and then you could have a contributor that's a campus level contributor, and they build it just for their campus and then communicate with their campus. But
and I would put it in the name of the conference as well, that it was Baxter Elementary only. That would not prevent them from registering, but at least they would know that it wasn't designed for them. Okay, so once the conference is created, right now we have all conference, no content, or actually this one probably does have some sessions because it's not my one I started from scratch. But I'm going to click over on sessions, and this is where I would build my actual schedule. What is it going to look like? And this is showing me each day of the conference and each time period and how many sessions I have. I have two ways to create a new session. There's a button up here that says add session, and I can do it from there, and it's just going to give me a blank everything, and I will set which date I want, start time, end time, all of that. Or I can come over here and say, I want to add another 9 o'clock session. I'm going to click in the 9 o'clock time slot. It automatically knows what date and time because I picked that, so it fills those in for me, but then I have to do the rest. So I'm going to say I want to do a Strive conferences session, and it's going to be from 9 to 10. Learn about the new conferences feature. And then this is where the tracks come in. I can tag this to help people find it. So I'm going to say this is Strive, and that's probably the only one I would tag out of these groups. But if I wanted it to be on multiple things, I could put multiple tags in there. I can also set my room location, and you'll notice it only gives me the choices that were selected in my options. So I'm going to say this is going to be in the computer lab, and I have only room for 35 people in there, or I could change that up and down, or I could just type in a number if I want to. So I have the ability to set all of these things. It pulls the max attendees based on what you set up on the workshop settings for that location, but you can always edit it. And then I can also set up my credit types here. I've got to get this bar out of my way. There we go. I'm going to set up my credit types. So I would want to give, everybody gets SBEC credit. So that's the one that counts toward recertification. I want to make sure I have that. But then if I am giving an additional credit type, let's say this was GT update credit, I could give them that as well. So you can have multiple credit types, just like you can on the workshop side. And then I'm going to add an instructor over here. My instructors pull from the instructor list that you have in workshop. So if there's somebody here that is not in my list and I want them to be the instructor, I'm going to first of all make sure my conference is saved up there, and then I'm going to go back to workshop settings, back to setup, and I'm going to look at my list of instructors, and if there's someone who needs to be there who is not, then I can say I want to add that instructor. I'm going to say next, and then it should have added my Milo over there. There he is. So now I can go back into conferences, back into my my conference that I was looking at, and then into the session that I was working on, and then I can add that, and there's Milo. So you can add in instructors on the workshop side, and they will show up in your instructor list on the conferences side. Also, when I'm into a specific session, I can look at the enrollments. Right now, nobody is enrolled, but we'll change that in a minute, and you'll be able to see how that shows up. And I can also delete a session if I changed my mind, or this is my favorite part, I can duplicate a session. I can say, I'm offering this on the 25th. I'm going to duplicate it. There's my copy. So it made a copy. I can come over here and say, that was a duplication. Now I want it to be on the 26th. Everything else stays the same, and it's automatically saved. When I go back and look at my sessions, now I have it here, and then I have it over here. This is the copy that I made and edited. So when you duplicate it, it puts it in the same location, and then you can just edit that. If I want to go back in again to that one, say duplicate it again, it made a copy of it for me. I'm going to take the words copy off. I'm going to move this one to the third day of my conference, and it did an autosave up there. So now when I go back, I have Strive conferences that I created originally. Here's my first copy that I edited to be on Friday, and my second copy that I edited to be on Saturday. That was really fast for me to go in and create a session and then just duplicate it and change the date and time as needed to go throughout my conference. So it's easy for you to add things in, and you'll notice it's just stacking them up side by side, all of the concurrent sessions that I have on that date.
Paige.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a good question, and this is a good timing to share. Okay. So the question was, will it keep people from selecting the same room at the same time? And the answer is no, we don't have that built in where it would keep them from it, but we have a way to easily tell if there is a location conflict.
So we do have two views, and we've been looking at the date view here so that I can see all of those concurrent sessions at date and time spots, but I can also look at location view so that I can see I have two things set up in the same room at the same time on this in this particular situation. So, and this is on Thursday. So same date, same time, same room is a problem. I would need to move one of those. So maybe my Strive conferences, I can just drag down, because you can drag and drop within both of the views. So now I have changed the details. And when I open it up, you'll notice that it changed the details here just by me dragging and dropping. So it's smart enough to know that when I drag and drop something, it will edit the details of that session. So I can look at them by date, or I can look at them by location to make sure I don't have multiple things in the same time slot in the same room. And then if I want to look at that, this is for Thursday, then I can look at Friday, see all my 3 rooms for Friday and for Saturday. Now I do have a conflict here. there is an overlap in the Zoom meeting room. As long as these two have different Zoom meeting locations, that's okay. But if it was one of my physical rooms and a face-to-face session, that would be a problem. So once I have all my sessions set, and whether I view them by my date or by my location, if this is my full conference, these are all the sessions that I'm offering, and I'm ready to make it available for people to register, then I'm going to come up here to my publish button, and I'm going to choose my publish date, my start registration date, and my end registration date. These two can be the same if you want them to, like they are in this instance, where I published it and it's open the minute I publish it. Or some people like to publish it, give everybody a week to look at it and think about it, and then open their registration Monday at 8 o'clock so that everybody has a fair shake of getting to those sessions because they all know when registration is going to begin. That's entirely up to you, but you do have 3 different things that you can choose in terms of making it public: your date that they can see it, date that they can sign up for it, and the last date that they can sign up for it. This one is super duper important because everyone needs to be enrolled and registered before the conference begins. There is not a way to go in and add people after the fact the way that you can in workshop. Now, I know people are going to say, but we need that. And yes, that is also on the list for a future iteration of conferences. But right now, they have to be registered in order to attend and get credit. So that's something to think about, setting your registration date and making it clear that everybody has to register before that date. I think I just saw another question pop in. Shanna, do we need to talk about a question, or are you answering it?
It was a clarification. So okay. People can't register after the conference starts unless you had the registration end date afterwards. But I will say people cannot enroll after a session starts.
Yes. So whatever your date is that your sessions begin, if I look at my sessions and then they're going to start at 9 o'clock on Thursday, nobody can enroll in anything after 9 o'clock on Thursday. Once the conference begins, they can't join in.
Right. And that will definitely change. And we'll have the option where an admin or like the district course editor person would be able to go in and they would be able to add a user after, like a staff member afterwards, because we know that happens. We know that people show up to a session and they weren't signed up to it and they're on the sign-in sheet and you can add them later, and that is coming. But right now, to keep the integrity of the actual, and also it was one of the things that we did because we have a lot of people attending and having sessions that are like virtual. That is a way to kind of keep that attendance. Only the enrollee can register for or enroll for it. And then because we don't want people trying to go back in later and going, oh yeah, I'm going to enroll in all these and get all this credit. So that's just a part of it, but that's coming very soon for you guys to be able to do that, but just keep that in mind.
Okay. I'm going to go in as a regular user. I'm a teacher now, and I'm going to go into Strive, and we're going to look at what your users will see. So, everything above the little gray line is my personal stuff. And this is where I would go in and search the course catalog for workshops that I want to take. I also now have a button for conferences. All of your users have that. When they click on it, whatever you have upcoming is going to show for them. If it has been published. If it's not published yet, it will not show up for your users. But this one has been published, so it's there, and I can click on that and I can register. So I register for the conference overall, and let me cancel that for a second. You'll notice it shows all of the sessions, so I can see what's there, but until I register, I cannot select any sessions. So I'm going to register for the conference and say, yes, I want to register. Now I have the little person here that allows me to enroll. So now I can look at what's being offered at 9 o'clock. Which one of those do I want to take? Well, I want to sign up for this one. And then it made the other one disappear because I have made my choice for that time slot. if I pick, there's only one offering at 10 and one at 10:30, but this one overlaps. So if I choose Strive conferences at 10, the 10:30 session is not available to me because it's in the same time slot as I have already selected. So that's gonna help me as I'm going through to build what I'm selecting. And then I can also come over here and say, well, I really need to learn something about forethought. Oh, no sessions are being offered so far about forethought. But if I find something, hopefully, that does have sessions, when I search for Strive, it will show me those that are tagged with that. So this is where those tags come in, or the tracks, as we call them, the learning tracks. You can select them to kind of guide your session creation, and then also it allows your users to search and find things along that track that interests them or that they need help with. So they can go ahead and select whatever sessions they want at the time slots that are available, and then they can come up here and click on this little button that says show only my schedule, and that's going to make everything disappear that's not selected. So if they didn't pick anything at that time slot, it's not going to show anything at that time slot. So I can turn that on where I can see the other things in there. Well, I'm not seeing them because of the filter there. But I can see everything that's there, whether I selected it or not. I can see something else is being offered, or I can turn on show my schedule only, and everything disappears except for the things that I have checked. This is a great option for people who want to be able to see their schedule on their phone, because this is a mobile responsive application. So it's going to try to fit this on their screen in the best way possible. And if they say show only my schedule, that narrows down what they're trying to view, and it shows them only what they're going to. So that's what your users see. Now I'm going to go back over to my conference and I'm going to do a refresh. If I go to my conference details, I have 3 registrants. This one right here, the Paige teacher account, is the one that I just registered for this particular session. So I can see all of my registrations for the conference. I can download a list of all my registrations for the conference, which is going to give me their email addresses. So if I wanted to download that spreadsheet, grab the field with all the email addresses and dump it into my email application, I could send out a reminder the conference starts tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So I could send out those emails. It's not the one-click email everybody registered that you have in Workshop, but I do have the ability to download from the conference registrations page everybody who's registered for the conference. And then if I go to a session, I have the ability to go into a specific session, go to enrollments within the session, and now I can download just the people who are enrolled in this particular session. So your instructors could do that as well. They could come in and download just the people who are enrolled in their session that they're offering, and they could send out an email to those people ahead of that session if they want to. They also have the ability to print from here, and that print is going to generate a sign-in sheet. So they have a place where they could do sign-in sheets if it is a face-to-face session, and they have a place where they could download emails if they want to send them, download email addresses if they want to send them an email. And then, of course, after the session, I would go in and mark those who did not attend. I would mark absent or take away the present, and then I can grant credit to those who I have left as marked present. It won't let me do that now because the session hasn't started, but that's where I would go as an instructor to take attendance and grant credit. And there is help available after this session is over with. I've given you a short link here. It's a bit.ly/strive-conferences will take you directly into our online help section. We have a whole section about conferences that has articles about everything that we've talked about today. So you can go in and find that information after today is over with if you want to. You can find it from that link, or you can also go into our online help from within the application, find the Strive section, and then you'll find Strive conferences there. And you can either click on the word Strive conferences, or you can click on see all 13 articles, and it'll take you to the full list of everything that we have out there about conferences. And as new things are created, we will continue to update and add to our conferences section. And as you think of features you would like to see, feel free to communicate those with us, as we are still looking at ways to build this out even further. I don't know that I mentioned this earlier, but the work that was done on that interface, which, by the way, I love, the session builder interface where you're creating courses, this development is going to be used in a future update for the course side of workshop, so that when you're building courses in the future, it will be more like this than what you have now, which this to me puts everything in one place and is a great option. So I'm looking forward to that part.
I want to throw something in there real quick too.
Sure.
Is if you are a district that, like, if you're wanting to kind of test this out, or if you have, we've had several districts that are running, you know, fairly large conferences. I believe San Angelo is on the call, and they have one coming up this Friday. And also we have Clear Creek ISD that has a pretty large one coming next week, I believe. But if you are wanting to plan a conference, a large conference, you want guidance from us, you want help, please don't hesitate to send an email to that training at eduphoria.net. We would be happy to kind of get on the phone and talk through, especially now, like just some best practices.
All right, I just wanted to mention some upcoming webinars, what we have coming up next. We have started a new format called Lunch and Learn, which are shorter. This one's a little bit short, but these are usually, the Lunch and Learns are a little bit shorter, and they're at noon. They are not on a specific day of the week. The two there just happen to be on Tuesday, but that's not locked in. They're just whenever we have an opportunity and a small thing that we want to be able to share. So the next two coming up are forethought checklists and forethought activities. I think checklists is a fabulous way for teachers to be able to put a lot of information into a lesson plan quickly and easily, and it also gives you data about those lesson plans. So we'll be talking about forethought for the next two Lunch and Learns, and then our next webinar is on building data views in Aware. So just to let you know that those are our upcoming webinars. All right. Well, as always, we appreciate your time, and feel free to reach out to training@eduphoria.net with questions, feature requests, comments, whatever.